Uh, Virgo, you already know. That is where I want to start. Not with a build-up, not with a mystery, not with something that arrives gradually and lands at the end. I want to start with the truth, because the truth has always been the most efficient way to reach you. Welcome, and sit with what I am about to say. You already know who this message is about. The name arrived before I finished the sentence, or the face, or that particular feeling that lives somewhere between your chest and your stomach. When you think about this specific person, that warmth that is not quite like anything else, that you have probably tried to explain to yourself many times and never quite found the right words for, because some things do not fit neatly into words. They fit into knowing. And, what I am here to tell you today is simply this: what you know is correct. I want to talk about the phrase meant to be because it is in the title. And I want to use it with care, not carelessly, not as a romantic fantasy, but as something real and specific and worth understanding fully. Meant to be does not mean easy. It does not mean without difficulty. It does not mean that nothing hard will ever happen between you, or that the path to this person was or will be simple. Meant to be means aligned. It means that the specific combination of who you are and who they are creates something that neither of you could create with anyone else. Something that has a particular texture, a particular depth, a particular rightness that both of you have felt, even if you have not always been able to act on it, even if circumstances or timing or fear have stood in the way of what was always, in some fundamental sense, true. You are meant to be with this person in that specific way, in the way that means your particular souls recognize each other, in the way that makes everything else feel slightly less real by comparison. Whew. I want to tell you something about this person, about how they have felt about you from the beginning, from the very first moment of knowing you or becoming aware of you, because I think you need to understand what has been in them for longer than you realize. They loved you from the start. I want you to feel the weight of that. Not the romantic version of it, not the movie version, the real version. The version that means from the first moment of real contact with who you are, something in them recognized something in you and decided, before the conscious mind had time to catch up, before logic could intervene, before they had any reason to choose you, that this person, this specific person, was significant. That recognition has not gone anywhere. It has been in them through everything, through whatever distance has existed between you, through whatever complications or misunderstandings or simply the ordinary messiness of life that has sometimes kept you apart or made things between you unclear or prevented the full expression of what was always there. The recognition remained constant, undimmed, even when they did not act on it, even when circumstances made acting on it impossible, even when they perhaps tried to redirect it somewhere else and found that they could not, because something in them knew that what they were trying to redirect belonged to you. Um, I want to tell you about the specific quality of love that has been in them from the beginning, because it is worth naming, worth understanding, worth receiving fully, rather than minimizing because it sounds too large. It is the kind of love that does not require the beloved to be perfect. I want to sit with that for a moment because it is significant. The love that has been in this person for you from the start is not contingent on you being at your best, on you having everything figured out, on you being in a particular emotional state or circumstance or version of yourself. It is the love that sees you fully, including the parts that are not polished, including the uncertainty and the fear and the moments where you are not the person you want to be, and chooses you anyway. Not in a martyrdom way, not in a I will love you despite yourself way, but in the specific way that real love works, which is to see the full picture and find the full picture worth loving. That is what has been in them since the beginning for you. Now I want to speak to something that might be making this hard to fully believe, because I know there is a part of you that wants to receive this message completely, and another part that is holding a list of evidence against it. The times they did not show up the way you needed, the moments where what they said or did not match what you are hearing now, the periods of distance or confusion or simply the absence of the clarity you deserve, the moments where you wondered if what you felt was returned and received no answer that satisfied the question. I hear that list. I am not dismissing it. Every item on it is real and had a cost, but I want to offer you a different frame for understanding what those moments were. They were not evidence that the love was absent. They were evidence that love, even the most real kind, has to live inside a human being with their own fears, their own limitations, their own timing, their own particular way of being in the world. That is not always aligned with what you need when you need it, in the form you need it. The love was real. The expression of it was imperfect, because humans are imperfect, and love. Even the most meant to be kind gets filtered through the imperfection of the person carrying it. This is not an excuse for everything. It is an explanation for something, and the distinction matters. I want to talk now about why nobody else, because that phrase, nobody else, deserves its own attention. You have tried, or you have wondered about trying, or you have watched others try to replicate what exists between you and this person in other connections with other people, and found that the replication is not possible, because what exists between you and this person is not a formula that can be applied elsewhere. It is specific, particular, the result of the exact combination of who you both are and how those two specific souls meet Other people can offer versions of what you find in them: kindness, attention, companionship, warmth, but not the specific quality of this, not the particular way this connection makes you feel more fully yourself, more alive, more like everything in you is operating the way it was designed to operate. When it has the right counterpart, that cannot be found elsewhere because it is not a quality of love in general. It is a quality of love between specifically you and specifically them. Nobody else is the most accurate thing that could be said about this. I want to speak to where this connection is right now in this current moment, because I do not want to live only in the beautiful abstract of what is meant to be. I want to be practical with you too, because practical is something you need alongside the beautiful. Something is moving in this connection right now, something that has been static or slow or simply in a holding pattern, waiting for conditions that were not yet present, is beginning to shift. The conditions that needed to exist for this connection to move toward what it was always meant to be are forming. Something in them has shifted or is shifting. A readiness, a willingness, a clarity about what they feel and what they want and what they are no longer willing to let exist, only in the unspoken space between you, rather than in the real world you both inhabit. And something in you has also shifted, a settling, a returning to the knowledge that has always been there, that this is the person, that this is the connection, that no amount of practical reasoning or protective distance has been able to make feel like anything other than what it is. I want to say something important now about what it means to be meant for someone and what it requires of you. It does not simply happen to you. Destiny, in the real sense, is not passive. It is not something that arrives complete and perfect without requiring anything from the people involved. Being meant to be with someone means being willing to show up for what that requires, the vulnerability it asks, the honesty it requires, the willingness to say the thing or hear the thing or take the step that brings the meant to be from the realm of feeling into the realm of reality. Because the most real loves in this world, the ones that were always meant to be, still require someone to take the first step, still require someone to be brave enough to say, this is what I feel, and this is what I want. And I am no longer willing to let the unspoken version of this be the only version that exists between us. That step is coming, or it is yours to take. One of those is true, and you will know which in the coming days, if you do not already. I want to close by speaking to the from the start part, because I think it is the most important phrase in the title and the one most worth sitting with. From the start, this person has held something for you since the very beginning, since before you had reason to know each other deeply, since the early moments that you might not even fully remember. or that seemed insignificant at the time, but were not, because something was being recognized in those early moments, something that has never been unrecognized since. Think about that for a moment, about what it means to be seen. From the very beginning, not after you proved yourself, not after you demonstrated your worth, not after you became who you are now, but in the first moments before any of that, something in them looked at something in you and knew that kind of recognition does not come from logic, does not come from time or familiarity or accumulation. It comes from something deeper than all of that. The specific recognition that happens when the right soul encounters the right soul, and every level of both people says, yes, this one, this is the one. You have felt that recognition too. I know you have, you have, even when you have tried to be practical about it, even when you have tried to apply logic to something that exists below the reach of logic, even when you have told yourself, there are reasons this is complicated, reasons this might not work, reasons to be careful, the recognition was always there. Underneath all of that, patiently, the way true things are patient, because they do not need to fight for their truth. They simply wait for the person carrying them to stop arguing with them and simply accept you are meant to be with this person, nobody else, and they have loved you from the start. Stop arguing with what you already know and go toward it.